Hello, viewers of the Indian Express. I am Flora Swai, and with me today, Vinayak Mohanarangan from the Indian Express Sports Desk. He's our senior assistant editor, and we are talking about the Boxing Day test. That was the fourth test of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy that India has lost by 184 runs. Vinayak, from the top of your head, first comments. Our correspondent Sriram Veera is in Australia, Melbourne, covering the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. 3 shots, 3 mental errors cost India the game that could have easily been a tie.
Yeah, I think the problem essentially with India today was I think they were a little confused whether to go for the run chase or play out for the draw. The mistakes that Veera has spoken about, I think those were the 3 critical moments of the match. First, the Rohit Sharma dismissal, then the Virat Kohli dismissal in the first session. That basically ruled out any slim chances that India had of winning the match.
Absolutely.
And then in the third session, when it looked like a draw could be, a draw could very well be the likely result, then Rishabh Pant decided to play a shot that was not on. And yeah, these 3 dismissals, without those lapses in concentration, a draw was on the cards. The pitch wasn't too difficult to bat on, as we saw throughout. Like the second session, India didn't lose a wicket.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't like a demonic pitch, a 5th-day pitch. So in that sense, yeah, disappointing 3 shots that led to India not being able to draw the match.
Absolutely. We'll talk about these in details that you mentioned. But before that, one of the highlights or the key talking points that dominated the narrative was Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli retiring. It started trending, and we were all waiting for the press conference that, oh, is there going to be an announcement again in the middle of the series? Where is this narrative coming from? I mean, I get it. Both of them have this abysmal streak currently going on. There's a lot of frustration within the players as well and amongst the spectators. But where is this coming from in the middle of the tournament?
No, I think most of it was speculation. We hadn't heard anything concrete. I mean, what happened with Ashwin after the third test kind of led to this. Okay, so if India loses this test, are we going to see another press conference?
Yeah.
It was largely social media driven.
Correct.
I don't think there were any concrete reports that these 2 could retire. Of course, retire was trending on Twitter with Rohit and Virat's name. That is Twitter being Twitter, so you can't help that. But yeah, their form has been a big point of concern. It doesn't look like Rohit is in a good space batting wise. Captaincy is a whole different thing, but batting wise, he's not looked in a good space for a long time now. Virat did score that century in Perth, but that's looked like a one-off more than anything. He's struggled since then with his familiar troubles outside the off stump. So I think it's a general frustration among the Indian cricket community that 2 of their biggest names have not delivered when India needed them to, and that's probably where the speculation came from. We were waiting for the press conference. I mean, the press conference was kind of, once we knew that the defeat was imminent, all eyes were on the press conference because all this was going on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, the press conference turned out to be rather eventless, so to speak, and nothing so far has been announced yet.
Right. We have spoken about this before. Virat Kohli, starting from the first test, the second test, the third test, and now the fourth test, the consistent way he's getting dismissed. Why isn't he doing anything about it? Come on.
It's not like Virat is not aware of his problem. Before the Melbourne test, he spoke to Ravi Shastri on the first day morning. He told Ravi Shastri that, I'm aware in the last few innings that I've lacked the discipline that is needed to survive these tough conditions. I'm aware of that, and I'll try to, grind it out and do well. So the awareness is not a problem. Obviously, he knows. I mean, he's a big enough cricketer to know where he's going wrong. I mean, this is again speculation, but I'm worried that Virat is making this an ego battle. Like, I don't have a weakness. I can conquer my weakness. That's sort of a mindset that he's gotten into. And in the first innings in Melbourne, he actually batted so well for 80 odd deliveries.
Absolutely.
He cut out that shot. He didn't poke at anything outside the off stump. He made Australia bowl at him instead of away from him. And he kept clipping those shots on the leg side. The fluency seemed to be there. I mean, he was not scoring very quickly, but he didn't look like he was getting out until that absolute brain fade 20 minutes where Jaiswal got run out, and then he went and poked After that, he seemed a little rattled and went and poked.
Yeah.
When all innings he hadn't done that.
Yeah.
And then again this morning, that shot was absolutely not on. Just before lunch, especially when you know your team is in trouble, and Mitch Stark bowling as well as he was, and lunch was 5 balls away, and then he goes and plays that shot outside the off stump again. Why he's not doing anything about it, I don't know. I think he was doing something about it in the first innings, but yeah, this is a question that we are struggling to find an answer.
I know it's a high pressure match always when India is playing in Australia. With Australia, the sledging game is always on point.
Yeah.
Do you think this, the stiff, if we can call it that, with Constas, do you think it sort of adds to the narrative? You're not scoring runs, your attention is diverted here. I mean, it doesn't look good, does it?
Virat has always been combative, right? I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes it's actually driven him, like when he knows that there is this narrative of him against the rest of the, not the rest of the world, but him against, me against you all, right? That sort of always has driven him. We've seen in Australia in the past when he's gotten into contests with Mitch Johnson, the crowd has been up against him and he's engaged with the crowd and ended up coming back to bat and scoring a century.
Correct.
We've seen that in the past, so it's not new. So I thought on day one when this whole thing was going on, it was almost Virat's way of saying that I'm firing myself up.
Yeah.
So it didn't come as a surprise. I mean, he shouldn't have done that shoulder barge. That was absolutely not on for a senior cricketer. That was a mistake, and I think he got away a little lightly with that. But I thought that was his way of making sure that he's up for the battle, which it seemed like in the first innings with the bat when he came out to bat. The crowd kept booing him, massive crowds, and it usually drives him, right?
Yeah.
And I think he looked set for a big one in the first innings, and when that didn't happen, the second innings was just a disappointment.
Right. From Virat Kohli's and the entire cricketing community's frustration that you said, from there to the senior ex-cricketers, for example, Sunil Gavaskar himself lambasted Rishabh Pant for that shot. Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
So Sunil Gavaskar is a very passionate Indian cricketer, former Indian cricketer. I mean, you might disagree with his views on commentary and how he comes across as a pundit in general, but the love that he has for Indian cricket is not up for debate. And he spoke about this after the videos went viral, saying that, Indian cricket made me who I am. I'm not sitting here because of my good looks or I am vertically challenged or horizontally
It's his name on the trophy.
Yeah, and he's there because he's an Indian cricketer, and he explained it. I rate Rishabh Pant really highly, so when he plays something like that, I feel like it's a wasted opportunity. About that shot itself, I mean, Gavaskar was really angry, but I don't know if it was justified to go so angry, but that again, Rishabh Pant, both innings, he played shots that were completely avoidable given the situations. So the thing with Rishabh Pant is always tricky. Rohit Sharma spoke about this in the press conference. He's a very difficult cricketer to understand, interact, because the method, the madness, has actually brought him a lot of success in this format. Right. So when that is why he's succeeding, you can't go and tell him don't do that.
Yeah.
So that is one side of the equation. The other side, you also want him to understand the situation. So it's kind of a fine line between the words that Gavaskar used, between careful and carefree and careless.
Careless, right.
So I think both innings Rishabh Pant made an error of judgment, right? There's nothing wrong with playing the audacious shots. That's what he is known for. In the first innings, situation was India were under pressure. They had a big total to chase, and he played a shot when there were 2 fielders in the deep on the leg side and 1 fielder waiting for that edge to catch.
Correct.
So that was a very low percentage shot. Rishabh Pant actually said this in an interview as well. I play all these shots when I know that it's high percentage, when I have a chance to, there is a risk-reward equation. Yeah. But this wasn't that, right? This was a low percentage shot. There were very little chance of getting anything out of it. So that way, first innings was a little bit of frustration. The second innings, I thought, even though shot is more conventional, it was a worse shot to play given the match situation. You have successfully seen off one entire session without losing a wicket. And then to play that to a part-time bowler who's just bowled a rank bad ball.
Yeah.
And you've given a catch when, you're again going for a boundary which has no upside to it.
Correct.
Like even if that had gone for a 6.
Correct.
India were not going for the win at that stage. So it's not going to help you. Getting a 6 has no meaning here.
Absolutely.
So you are basically throwing away your wicket for no reward.
Correct.
So that's again a low percentage shot. So this is the kind of assessment that Rishabh has to do with himself. So that's the problem currently with Rishabh. Like, where is the reward coming from for the risks you are taking? So that's
absolutely. We'll circle back to the audacious shots you're talking about, but I also want to chip in with the dismissal of Yashas Jaiswal.
Sure.
Again, Sunil Gavaskar lambasted the Bangladeshi third umpire.
Right.
What are your comments?
No, that was clearly out. It was a controversy that the Indian broadcaster was trying to make a big deal out of nothing. The problem with that dismissal was that the technology didn't work the way it should have. The Snicko meter technology didn't work. So Simon Toffel, a former Australian umpire, one of the greatest umpires ever to have done the game, he was explaining the protocol. So if the third umpire feels that there is a clear deflection that he can see on the slow motion replays, that takes precedence over any of the support technology.
Correct.
So the support technology didn't work, so he went with what he saw. Almost everyone who saw the slow motion replays from the front vision could see that the ball is going off the bat or the glove. Either of them, could have been both also actually. And the Snicko technology guys later explained to one of the Australian publications that the noise was so minimal because of the shot that was played that it didn't get picked up on Snicko.
Correct.
So the third umpire went with what he could see, and Rohit said he thought it was out. Ravi Shastri, though on Hindi commentary, was quite aggressive on English commentary when he came back and said, yeah, Yashasvi obviously hit it. So at the end, you want the right decision to be made. So the controversy is, I mean, just something out of nothing. So.
Right, making a mountain out of a molehill. But at the same time, how much does India miss someone like a Rahul Javid at the moment, being the wall, doing nothing? Because these are young players right now, Rishabh, Pant, Yashas Jhunjhunwala, Nitish Reddy, who we'll talk about, that do nothing, just stand there. Like you said, an audacious shot of Rishabh Pant would not have garnered him anything. We were not winning at that point any which way. But just to stand there and do nothing, do you think that the players are lacking the patience, or is there this compulsive need to keep on, being adventurous and keep on experimenting?
I think the game was moved on. I mean, it's also, we are talking about different eras where, the Rahul Dravid, VVS Lakshman era, there was still the draws were quite frequent. I mean, you didn't have results in all matches. We are now in an era of the World Test Championships where every result matters. You barely get draws these days unless there is rain, right? I mean, weather-interrupted matches are the only ones typically that end in draws. Teams are playing for results, which is good for Test cricket. I mean, do we miss Rahul Dravid? Of course we miss Rahul Dravid. We probably miss Rahul Dravid as a coach too, for all we know.
Yeah.
No, but I think, we are in a different era, so that's a little bit of a difficult comparison to make. We do have players who can bat long. I mean, Yashas Jhunjhunwala has shown at least thrice in the series that he's built for that long haul. KL Rahul has shown that he can stay there in the middle. Maybe a Cheteshwar Pujara, if he was still in form, would have
Probably.
He does what Rahul Dravid used to do. So,
yeah,
I mean, we probably moved on in Test cricket from that era of just playing 3-4 hours and scoring like 20-30 runs. So, it's just different eras we are in. Even saying all that, this wasn't a case where you needed to bat for like the whole day. You just had to bat, like if every batter stayed there for 100, 110 balls, that's not difficult to do even in this era, right? So, you could have still played out the draw, which didn't happen. So, yeah.
Right. Moving on to 21-year-old Nitish Reddy. I mean, this match, we lost it, but it wasn't without highlights, without excitement in the first innings.
Yeah. Very exciting, very emotional moments involving Nitish Kumar Reddy. His father was sitting in the front of the stadium, like front row seat.
Yeah.
The metaphorical front row seat was quite literal as he was watching his son score his first international century. And I mean, it wasn't without drama. From 97 to 100, it felt like an innings of its own from 97 to 100. So, with Washington getting out and then Bumrah getting out after a mistake.
But Siraj stuck in.
And then Siraj played those 3 balls. Nitish was speaking to BCCI or Star Sports in an interview saying, when Siraj walked in, I just told him, I believe in you, Siraj, but just play 3 balls and then I'll do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So 3 balls he played, got loud cheers from everyone. I think the loudest from Nitish's family who were there. And Nitish got his chance to score 100 and he made the most of it. Lovely story. We have a few stories on our website. Nitish's father speaking about his journey, Nitish's mother speaking about their journey, and Tanishq, our correspondent, charting his journey from Visakhapatnam to Melbourne. Lovely story of sacrifice. His father had still 25 years almost of service left at his employment, but he
Correct.
gave up the job, resigned to be with Nitish full time, take him around to all the training centers and all that. Lots of financial difficulties faced, and eventually to see all that, to see their son do that at the biggest of stages in Test cricket with nearly
Melbourne.
80,000 people watching. Yeah, that was a very emotional moment, and good for Nitish. I think he has a bright future ahead of him. Looks like a very technically correct player, so I think he is a long.
Good for Nitish and good for Indian Test cricket for that matter. Before we round off, a couple of questions. We started with Jasprit Bumrah's captaincy in the first Test.
Right.
And right now, it feels as if he has the burden of the entire world on his shoulders. He's at it. But he's getting results.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about speaking about Bumrah right now is finding words.
Yeah.
What do you say about Bumrah that's already not been said?
Yeah.
Absolute genius. The way he's bowled the series, it actually breaks my heart to think that someone who's bowled so well is currently on the losing side in the series.
Right.
30 wickets. That's nearly almost the runs that Rohit Sharma scored in the series. 30 wickets at 14 or something average, and he crossed 200 wickets for his career. And the first bowler in the history of Test cricket, and we're talking about 130 years of Test cricket, first bowler to cross 200 wickets with an average below 20.
Below 20. Right.
It's an unbelievable record, and the kind of players that he's gone past in achieving that it's just amazing. The very fact that we even entertained a thought of winning or drawing this match on day 4 was because of Bumrah. Word of appreciation for Siraj as well. I think he struggled so far in the series. He did all right in that second innings, picking up crucial wickets. But without Bumrah, I don't think India would be anywhere close to competing in the series, honestly speaking. I mean, he's the only guy who's kept the series competitive from an Indian point of view. There have been, Jaiswal, credit to him, Nitish, credit to him. But without Bumrah, I don't think this series would have been this competitive.
Absolutely. Boom, boom, Bumrah all the way. And of course, he's been nominated as ICC's Test Cricketer of the Year. And finally, before we round off, 2nd of January,
Sorry.
the 3rd of January, we are moving to Sydney for the final test of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Like I always ask you, Vinayak, 2 things India should do, 2 things India shouldn't do. What is the game plan, please?
2 things India should do. Bat much better. So India's problem this series has been the batters not stepping up at crucial moments or not taking advantage of the positions of the starts that they have gotten. So that has to change. For that, I mean, do they make a personal change? Does Shubman Gill come back? I honestly don't think Shubman Gill should have been dropped for this test. Now, how do they bring him back? I do not know. Does Rohit Sharma step aside? If you're talking theoretically about what should happen, Rohit should not be playing in Sydney, honestly speaking. But, I mean, that is again theoretical. I don't think he's going to step aside. I mean, the captain is not going to step aside. That's a problem with Indian cricket.
Yeah.
We attach too much importance to these roles and seniority and all that.
And he's already missed the first test.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very theoretical observation. But I think Rohit will play. So how do they bring back Shubman Gill? They have to factor a way to bring back Shubman Gill. And who do they drop if they have to do that? So that is a big question. What they should not do is make Bumrah do all the heavy lifting. The other bowlers have to step up. I mean, for a guy who's had fitness issues in the past because of his action and because of his workload, he's bowled far too many overs than he should be ideally bowling. Because every time Rohit needs a wicket, he turns to Bumrah. And I think on the day 4 of this Melbourne Test, he bowled 9 different spells.
Right.
Short spells.
That was exhausting.
And he looked the last ball, after the last ball of the play, he was just on his knees, like bending down, looking like, wow.
Yeah.
when is this going to end? But I mean, he's been bravely going about it. So someone needs to step up. Sydney typically offers more to spinners. So do India stick with 2 spinners, and maybe Washington Sundar and Ravindra Jadeja can step up in that test? So yeah, the bowling has been, apart from Bumrah, has been a little bit of a problem, like we saw in the second innings when they couldn't wrap up Australia from 91 for 6. So let's see how that goes. Personnel wise, there are a lot of questions to be answered in the next 3 days.
So let's see. That's what Vinayak says in the last leg, the last test of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, where if India manages to win, we retain the trophy. And let's see how it goes for us. All eyes to Sydney now on the 3rd of January. I am Flora Swine, and you were watching the official YouTube channel of the Indian Express.